Everyone wants to be the top fragger in Deadlock, but what about the support? Dynamo is hands down the best support hero in the game, and he's a crucial component of any team comp. That's why you see him in most of the high MMR matches. Dynamo has 2 forms of crowd control, which includes one of the best ults in the game. He also comes equipped with a heal and a way to help his teammates initiate or escape fights. And even though he's more of a support role, he has the ability to do high damage if you build him correctly. I've personally managed to get nearly 30 kills in a single game. Today, we're gonna break down how to play Dynamo. You'll learn each of his unique abilities, the best items for him, and his style of play. Dynamo's role is primarily to support the team, and his playstyle allows you to take fights at close, medium, and long range. His base weapon does a decent amount of damage and has a large magazine size, making him great for the laning phase. During the laning phase, you can easily harass opponents from long range, and when you're on a duo lane, Dynamo's kinetic pulse allows you to lift and slow enemies, making for some easy early kills. When playing Dynamo, you're going to need to be able to manage multiple active items. Personally, I changed my keybinds to better use items alongside his abilities. When you have a fully built Dynamo, you're going to want a warp shard and a refresher. If used properly, you can help your team pull off a team wipe. If used incorrectly, you're gonna die pretty quick. Dynamo has a lot of mobility as well, which is useful because his ultimate involves getting in the middle of the opposing team to pull them into a singularity. The range on his kinetic pulse is fairly short as well, but you can increase the range of both of these abilities once you start getting your items. Dynamo rounds out his support status by having a great healing effect. This allows you and your team to stay on the lane longer during the early game and to outlast your opponents during team fights. Dynamo's first ability is Kinetic Pulse, a short-range ability that knocks enemies into the air and does damage. With your first ability point, this ability applies 40% movement slow and fire rate slow, and with your second ability point, you do 30% more weapon damage on enemies for 8 seconds. Not only does this ability help you get early kills on lane, but it also lets you chase down enemies and pop them up in the air when they're trying to escape a fight. His second ability is Quantum Entanglement, an ability that lets you teleport a short distance away. This is great for entering and exiting fights, but be careful because you can get stuck on walls. One of the best parts about this ability is you can teleport your teammates with you. Upgraded, you get a 25% fire rate bonus and a 120% base ammo bonus when you reappear. Dynamo's third ability is Rejuvenating Aura, a channeling ability that heals 32 HP per second in an AoE. While channeling, you can't shoot, and you move slower, so you need to choose your timing wisely. If you have a lane partner, it's helpful to communicate when you're about to heal so you can both take cover and heal together. This ability really excels once you hit your 5th ability point because you get full movement speed and you can shoot and use your other abilities. It also heals an additional 4% of max health per second. Finally, we have Dynamo's ultimate ability, Singularity. You stun and pull in nearby enemies while doing 60 damage per second, and when it finishes, you knock the opponents into the air. If you communicate with your team properly, this ability can wipe entire teams and swing games. Upgraded, you get a larger radius and a longer channel duration. With the 5th ability point, you take 3.8% of the enemy's max health per second as well. And if one or more of the enemies isn't killed during the singularity, you can Kinetic Pulse at the end of it to pop them up to buy yourself some more time to finish them off. As far as leveling the abilities and in what order, I start out with Kinetic Pulse as my very first ability, and then I start leveling the heal. My goal is to get the heal and the ultimate to max level as soon as possible. I always prioritize the ult, but if our team needs heals and I need that mobility that goes along with the heals, I will max the heal first. What you're seeing on screen right now is my personal build. I put this together by checking the data from high MMR matches and I tweaked it a little to my own liking. And remember, your build should support your play style, so feel free to adjust this one as needed. With this specific build, your first items should be high velocity mag and monster rounds. Dynamo's bullet velocity isn't the greatest, but his weapon does a lot of base damage, so the high velocity mag allows you to harass enemies from a long distance. Monster rounds help you farm creep creeps a little bit easier while also getting some bonus health and health regen. If the other team is doing a good job at poking you for damage, you may want to prioritize getting extra regen. Healing Booster is also a great item, but it can wait until the mid-game if your team is doing well. If you or your lane partner is taking a lot of damage in the early game, you may want to get this item sooner rather than later. Extra Charge and Mystic Reach help you with your kinetic pulse, allowing you to hit people from a further distance while being able to use your ability more than once. Now in this build, although I have Rapid Rounds as a mid-game item, it's great to get during the laning phase if you're gaining a lot of souls and able to play a little bit more on the offense. Your next priority should be the Warp Shard. This is a must-have item on Dynamo because it allows you to surprise enemies and use your singularity. It also has an extremely short cooldown of 15 seconds, so it helps you initiate fights without your ultimate by chasing people down and using your kinetic pulse. It's also a great tool in combination with your quantum entanglement when you're trying to run away. With Warp Shard, you'll have a lot of low-death games simply because you have multiple ways to escape. This allows you to push lanes on your own because you can escape easily if the other team comes and tries to gank you. In addition to the Warp Stone, a lot of your items revolve around your ultimate. This is why you're going to need Duration Extender and Improved Cooldown. The Warp Stone is 3,000 souls, so if you're struggling to farm enough, you'll probably want to pick up these two items first. And if you have the opportunity to upgrade these two items in the late game, be sure to imbue your singularity so you can use it more often. The next must-have item on this list is the Refresher, which is 6,300 souls, but it's worth every penny. With a Warp Stone and Refresher, you're able to blink in and use your ultimate twice. If you do this fast enough, the opponents don't have an opportunity to use any abilities or run away in between your ults. The rest of these late game items you can get at your discretion. I personally like getting Torment Pulse to do some additional damage during the singularity. I've recently been thinking about adding Mystic Vulnerability and Escalating Exposure to this build for even more spirit damage, so you may want to give that a try if possible. Lastly, you'll see that there are situational items, and these are pretty standard. I recently added Colossus to my build just for some extra tankiness when I'm initiating fights or trying to get away. As you can see, this build can use 3 to 4 active items, which is why I personally adjusted my keybinds. I now use 1, 2, 3, and 5 for my items, and E, F, C, and 4 for my abilities. My personal biggest weakness in MOBAs has always been using active items, so doing this made my life a lot easier. So if you're somebody who wants to try Dynamo or any other hero where you have to use active items and you struggle with them like me, consider switching your keybinds to maybe make it a little bit easier on yourself. And that's it for how to play Dynamo. I decided to learn this hero because I saw he was regularly being played in high MMR matches, and I was kind of tired of my team never having enough crowd control. Dynamo solves the crowd control problem, and your team will thank you for your ability to initiate fights and get some big plays, all right? But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new, make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell. I make a ton of Deadlock content, and I will be making more hero guides. Let me know down in the comments below which heroes you would like to see next. All right, but anyways, that's all I got for this video. Make sure you have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.